Hello, here I am on the cosy sofa about to give you a book review, and I hope to give you a book review more or less every week from now on. Not always on the same day of the week because my shifts are all over the place at work, but within every week span I hope to upload a book review. I'll be covering all kinds of books. New books, old books, books by well-known, well-established authors, books by unknowns, books which are very rare, books which are very common, but all of the books will be good. I don't see any point in sitting here, just to lambaste things. So if I feature a book, it's because I'm recommending that book. And since it's the first one, it was a bit of a struggle trying to decide what book to feature first. But in the end I decided on Doll's House by Colin Griffiths. There'll be links to the appropriate Amazon pages underneath the video. And the reason I've chosen Doll's House is firstly, Colin deserves the exposure. He's an indie writer. He's written quite a large number of novels now. They're all excellent, but of them all, this is my favourite. The basic plot involves a house clearance after an old lady has died. In the house is found an old handmade doll's house, which is then sold on to a young girl. It's her birthday present. And of course the doll's house is haunted or cursed, and this opens up a whole can of worms. But there's more to it than that. As the story unfolds, it brings in a historical witches' coven and so on. There are so many twists and turns in this story, it's unbelievable. It's really captivating. Now, of course, haunted dolls' houses are nothing new. Tales of this sort go back to M.R. James and so on. But nobody's quite done it like Colin Griffiths before. This is very much a unique story, as all of his are. He really has his own style. There are tons of characters in the book. A Griffiths book always has a lot of characters. They're always well developed. They're always very real. You really can see real people in their mannerisms. The way he writes dialogue, it's naturally spoken. There's nothing here which jars. You know, you read the book and it comes alive because of the people in it, because of the characters, and this is his real strength. And also, he's not afraid to kill them off. He'll take a main character and dispose of them in a really gory way, just when you're least expecting it, and it always comes as a bit of a shock. And again, this is one of the wonders of indie writers. It's not something that you'd expect in a book which had gone through a traditional publishing house, because it doesn't fit into the normal beats that you'd find in a novel. That's what makes this book so fresh and interesting, along with all of Colin's other work. It's full of twists and turns, as I've said. Colin's plots are never straightforward. You're always presented with an initial scenario. You think you know what's going on. In any other book, you'd think you had it nailed. You'd be able to see the format. This and then this and then this and then this. It doesn't work like that. Not in a Colin Griffiths novel. It twists, it turns, there are new elements added in all over the place, some of which then explain things which happened way back and which you hadn't even realised until that point weren't sitting quite right, but suddenly it all comes much clearer. So it really keeps you on your toes, it keeps it fresh and interesting. As I say, this is my favourite one of Colin's novels. In fact, it's so good that I bought it twice. I got it on Kindle, and then I decided it was good enough to grace the bookshelf, so I bought a print copy. The chances are I may even buy it a third time. I'll come to that in a moment. First, we want to talk about Colin's writing style. As I say, it's unconventional. This isn't somebody who writes to a formula. It's not predictable. It's fresh and exciting. He writes as he speaks. So you may get some things in here which would upset grammar Nazis, for instance. Now, there are two ways of approaching that. One is to get uppity about it and to miss out on a really good story, which I don't recommend doing. The other is to acknowledge he's an indie writer. He's done his absolute best to produce the best work he can and deserves your support. And you will not find other stories to surpass Colin Griffiths. That's the best recommendation I can give. But also, with the style he writes in, he is telling you the story. Like one of the old storytellers, you know? And he's told in his way, in his words, with his diction. And this is what makes it so personal and so real. If you ever remember being told stories by your uncles or something when you were young, it brings something of that feel to it. And if you really are a grammar Nazi, and you really insist on everything being perfect, well, maybe the option for you then is the third incarnation of the novel, and the one which I don't have yet, but I'm very tempted by, because Colin has also released it as an audio book on Audible and iTunes. And there, all you need to do is listen. And he partnered with a reader named Darren Milner, who has a really good reading style. I've heard an excerpt from the book. He's very soft-spoken, very engaging. He's got a very lilting, interesting voice. You're not going to nod off when you listen to him. And he's got one of those really pleasant Scottish accents. Because Celts always make the best storytellers, you know? So I really recommend that too. I know audiobooks are becoming more popular, and Colin has jumped on there with a couple of his titles now. As I say, out of all my books, I've chosen this one to be number one on these YouTube videos. I can't recommend it highly enough. Go and treat yourself today. Thank you.